Hello, and welcome to the Intersight Managed Deployment for CIsco Intersight Managed Mode. Now, this title also includes using the Intersight Managed Mode Transition Tool. So that is the transition tool that we are going to be using to convert a UCS managed domain into the policies required to deploy into Intersight Manage Mode. Now, I will preface this by saying that this is not a migration of existing server states from UCS Manage Mode to Intersight Manage Mode, but this is going to be a way to export your policies that you're currently using in traditional UCS managed configurations and apply these created policies to Intersight Manage Mode. Okay, I am in my session right now. And what I have currently is I have a UCS environment, and that UCS environment is configured in UCS Manage Mode with 8 blades and 4 nodes that boot from SAN. So we have a Versa stack on the back end, 5K, 1 link each side. It's just a test environment. It's just designed as a proof of concept. But if we actually go in and take a look, we can actually see our created service profiles down here, and that they are, I have 4 up right now. They're up and operational. So if we go over to Intersight, we're going to log into our Intersight account. So right now, we don't have a target for this environment. So if I go into Intersight, and this is Intersight SaaS, you can also do this to the connected virtual appliance as well as the private appliance. So both use cases are covered correctly here. I'm going to use SaaS because I already have my API key tied to the IMM tool, so so I can do this multiple times. I'll go through the process as to how that's actually configured. So I take a look at my Intersight dashboard. I'll take a look at my targets, and I can actually see that I do not have, this is called UCS 5. I do not have this as one of my targets currently. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to convert the policies to Intersight Manage Mode, and then I have to wipe the domain and apply the domain profile. So this is what this demo is going to cover. So the IMM Transition Tool is a simple tool that queries the UCS API running the Easy UCS Software Development Toolkit, and all we will need to do is log in. So we will put in our password. It helps to put in the right password. So as you can see, as soon as you log in as admin, you're dumped into the main GUI, and you can see that I have 2 transitions that I have already configured. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these, and we are going to walk through and create one from fresh. Okay, so I want to add a transition. So in order to add a transition, I can do a couple of things. I can generate a readiness report, and then I can transition that config to Intersight. So I'm going to call this UCS 5 to IMM. And the first thing I'm going to do is generate the readiness report. So it's still cached for my existing domain. So what I'll do is, if I wanted to add a new UCS domain, of course, I would just click add. I would put in the domain IP, username, and password for UCS Manager. I already have that cached here, so I will click next. And the most recent readiness report is from last month, but we'll go ahead and regenerate a new report. And what this will do is this will fetch the config inventory from UCS, and it's going to generate a readiness report. So the readiness report is going to actually tell us what components we may need to upgrade to convert. Say this is an in-place upgrade from M5 and M6 blades, and you want to convert the fabric interconnects to run in Intersight manage mode. Well, I would run the health check first to make sure that all of your configs are Intersight manage mode compliant. And this is what it'll tell you. So in just a second here, we will view our report. Okay, so we can see the fetch config and inventory from UCS system has completed. So we'll just close this out and we'll view the report. So we can actually take a look at, there are some items that will not convert over from UCS manage mode to IMM mode. And we can actually view these warnings right here, policies. These are common policies, and let me give you an example. Down here under boot policy, there's no floppy boot policy anymore. That there hasn't been in servers for years. There's not a floppy under UEFI or regular. There's a boot policy dialog for floppy. That's not going to go either. Also, any SD card boot policies. Well, for X series, SD card isn't supported. For B series, it would be. So these are policies that that are just part of UCS Manager that have been there forever, and that they're just not included in Intersight, like iSCSI iSCSI adapter policies, the HBA mode boot to target. Well, that was actually removed and added as another field. So it's in UCS Manager, but it won't convert to Intersight. So that's it. So if we go back and we view the report, we can actually see my hardware compatibility score is very good. Fabric config score is very good. Server policies are very good. So we can actually take a look. Here are our metrics. The configuration contains no unsupported critical items. Now, what do we mean by unsupported critical items? We mean hardware that is not going to be compliant with IMM mode. Remember, for IMM mode, we must be running Gen 4 fabric interconnects and at a minimum B200 M5, as well as the 1455 VIC cards, and all the firmware has to be on a minimum of 4.1 firmware. So we can actually see my IOMs though do require an upgrade. Fabric interconnects do require an upgrade. So we can definitely do that as a second stage. And here's our config conversion summary. So we're not copying over individual profiles right now. We are only copying the service profile template. So all you will do is you'll see the server profile template, and then you will derive your profiles from that template once that is actually physically done. And then further on, we have all the inventory and all the pieces together. Okay, so all this is all this is in good shape. So we can also download this report as a regular converted report. So we'll just click OK. Now we'll go back here. Now, if we go back to here, we can go to Edit. Now, I've got Intersight set up. Now I want to transition the config to Intersight. So I'll click Save. Now I will go back and click on the transition, the readiness report I've done. Now I need to push it to Intersight. So I'll click Next. I'm using an existing account. So I'm using intersight.com with the Enter1 Intersight account. This could also be your local assist appliance or your private virtual appliance. And I can also download the entire config as a JSON. as well for for a further storage and use or automation further on down the line. So what I'll do is I'll click next. Now it's going to connect to the Intersight appliance device, which is the Intersight SaaS Cloud. And provided my API keys are still valid, it's pushing the org section of the config. So we can verify this now by taking a look at our policies. And the policies that are newest will be listed first, and they should be prepended by UCS 5. See, there's our BFS, boot profile, UCS. So you can see the policies that are all being created from the existing UCS manager domain. So we'll push the org section of the config. We can follow the operational logs over on the right-hand side. So that'll show us all of the policies. So LAN connectivity policy should have been copied over, and I can verify that the LAN connectivity policy is not quite there yet, but as soon as it is, it will show up. Successfully completed task. So now we can take a look and go into profiles, and let's actually check our UCS domain profile. And we should see a domain profile with UCS 5 that was created a few seconds ago. So now we have copied the policies over, so we can take a look at UCS server profiles. Are there any server profiles there? No, because remember, we're not copying individual profiles. We're just doing the templates. So if I take a look at the template, here's my boot from SAN server profile. And you can see the configuration is here. So our boot order, this was everything that was pulled over from UCS, as well as your LAN and your SAN connectivity policy. And you can see under the tags, we used Easy UCS to pull the configuration and to convert it from the XML API to Intersight Manage mode. So now what we need to do is, because this is a running state device, I can't just overlay. So here's where we have to go in and we have to wipe out the clusters. Okay, so now I'm going to destroy my UCS domain. Okay, we're going to do that by doing an erase config. So we're going to do an erase config on both. And once these boot back, we will return and we'll go through the association process. And we're back and we've rebooted. And as you can see, I've made a separate video on the UCSX console to claim method that one of our instructors will be happy to share. However, let's go through it real quick, because when we're configuring IMM mode, we do configure things a little bit differently. So we're going to choose console, and we're going to choose Intersight Manage mode, and we want to set up a new Fabric interconnect. So we will pop in the appropriate password that we want. If I could type. Now switch fabric's going to be A. It's going to be UCS 5. And then we're going to give ourselves an IP address. Now the difference between configuring a Fabric interconnect from UCSM mode to IMM mode is that there's no more cluster IP. There is still a cluster link between the two Fabric interconnects for the exchange's state and database. However, there is no cluster VIP anymore. So we're just going to pop in an IP address, netmask, gateway, and then it's critical that we get our DNS correct, because we're going to have to claim this next. So we want to save the configuration. Now, if you'll notice, if you've ever configured UCS Manager, it's pretty easy. You could just go to the B side, and then you could go ahead and do the configuration, and it will show that the second fabric interconnect is there. It takes a little bit longer here in Intersight Manage mode, and I'll tell you why. Intersight Manage mode has to start the UCS Manager process. So that process has to kick off for the fabric interconnects to see themselves along the layer 1, layer 2 links. So you can see over here on the A side that we are completing our basic configuration setup. And so our next step is that we're going to go to the regular UCS Manager prompt. And then the process manager will start the UCS Manager process, and then we should be able to see the second fabric interconnect. Okay, so the NX API is being enabled on HTTPS. Now we should get dropped to the UCS5 prompt. And now we should see the UCSM process manager starting in the next 5 to 10 seconds on the fabric interconnect. Watch it make a liar out of me. As I said, 5 to 10 seconds. Now you can see the starting Intersight Manage UCS process. Once the process manager starts that, now I should be able to go into the console on the B side. The detector has detected the fabric interconnect, connecting to the peer. There you go, retrieving the config. So again, we'll just need the IP, the management IP. That's all we'll need to do. There's no more VIP. So we'll say yes. So we'll apply that configuration now. And now, this is not automated. The wiping of a fabric interconnect, the claiming of the fabric interconnect. I mean, you can automate the claiming of a fabric interconnect. Certainly do that, but you can automate the destruction of a fabric interconnect. But we can't. You can't. You have to console in, and you have to do the basic setup. There's when a fabric interconnect's wiped, there's just nothing there. Okay, so now I should be able to go. So here I've got this. So I should be able to hit the console connector for fabric interconnect A. Just type in admin and password. So right now we're just not ready yet. It'll bounce up and down a couple of times before it's actually ready. Nope, not ready yet. I'm never patient enough. Like I say, I'm never patient enough. Couple 3 times. 3rd time's a charm. So now I'm going to go to device connector. So now I need to turn on the device connector. Give it a second because the state's changed. Okay. So let me do a refresh here because there's no device ID. Okay, so let's copy the device ID. And let's go over here. We're going to go to admin targets. We're going to claim a new target. And now, instead of a UCS managed mode, this is going to be a UCS domain Intersight managed mode. So we're going to pop the device ID in. Okay, that was what I had feared. Okay, to fix that error, I just had to turn the device connector off, and then back on again. So we'll just give that a second, and I can show you where you would do that. You would go into settings, and then just click the device connector off, and then save, and then turn it back on again. Okay, so now I've copied my device ID, so I'm gonna claim a target. I'm gonna paste my device ID, and then I'm going to go and paste the claim code. So here I've pasted the claim code. Now my target has been successfully claimed. Now I'm just going to click refresh, and I can see that that is now UCS5 is now an Intersight managed domain. So the next part of this, and the final part of this, is to go to our profiles, and under UCS domain profiles, we can take a look at the domain that was created 19 minutes ago. So we can edit that, and let's go ahead and assign it to this domain. So we can see we've got the UCS5 organization. I can pick now UCS5. Next, and you can see my VLAN and vSAN configurations, and if I want to take a look at those policies, I can actually click on them and I can view those policies. So these are the same policies that I had in UCS Manager. And then I take a look at the port config. This is the same configuration that I had in UCS Manager. So yeah, I wiped the fabric interconnects, but I didn't have to change any of the cable mapping. So all of my uplink and fiber channel ports are configured. My management policies, NTP, syslog, network connectivity, SNMP, system quas is a very important policy for Intersight managed mode, and switch control policy as well, which is DNS. Next. And then what I do, I will have to deploy my policy. Now remember, because my policy has, well, it has fiber channel ports on it, but I did erase the config. So that means both fabric interconnects will reboot again. So I will click on deploy. Deploy. So I can take a look at deploying the domain profile. I can look at the workflow. And if I go back to my console connection here, looks like both fabric interconnects are going to be rebooting. Yep, they're rebooting. So this is carving out the fiber channel ports, setting up the connectivity, and then what will, just since we're running a little bit long on time here for a demo, what will happen after that is the chassis will get discovered, the servers will get discovered, and then all you will have to do once that is done is go to your template, which is your BFS template right here, which was created 20 minutes ago, derive profiles, and those same server profiles, you can see that these servers already have profiles assigned to them. So you'll have to do assign later. And I could pick 8 profiles to derive. And IMM tool. Call it IMM tool. And then I'll derive those profiles. And then when these servers boot up, I will merely apply that profile to that specific server, and you can see that the profiles have been created. They'll boot up, and that is how you would do right now the IMM Transition Tool process. I hope this was informational. Hope I didn't screw it up too much, and I look forward to you catching us again in another class. Thank you so much.